Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man sa'ara sabilihi ila yawmiddin amma ba'd. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we'll be continuing discussing the book that is written in Usul al-Fiqh by Salih ibn Uthaymin rahimahullah ta'ala. So we've been covering this book for the past few weeks, and today we will be continuing by starting discussing the bab of al-Mufti wal-Mustafti. Aywa, so we'll read what is said by the author rahimahullah ta'ala and add anything if needs be.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. The Mufti and the Mustafti. The Mufti is the one who has knowledge of the legal rulings. The Mustafti is a questioner that asks for a legal ruling. The conditions of fatwa. The requirements for the permissibility of a fatwa, which if they are not met, then the correct fatwa will not be obtained. 1. The Mufti have certainty of knowledge of a judgment or overwhelming notion, otherwise he must withhold from issuing any fatwa. 2. The question must fully be understood to be able to judge him, because judging something is part of conceptualizing it. So when you found difficulty with what the questioner has asked, and if it needs further explaining, more detail should be sought, or that it is mentioned in the answer itself. So if someone dies and leaves behind a daughter, a brother, and an uncle, ask about the brother, was he from the mother or not? Or make the distinction in the answer. So if he was from the mother, then there is nothing for him in inheritance, and the remainder after what belongs to the daughter is for the uncle. And if he is from another mother, then what's left after the daughter takes what's hers is for him. Number 3, he must be of a calm mind, giving him time to think about the issue and implement the legal evidences. So he should not issue fatwas while in the state of being angry or preoccupied or even bored.
That's the same discussion.
The following conditions have been stipulated for a fatwa to be necessary.
Okay, so next topic. The author, Hafidullah Ta'ala, Rahimahullah Ta'ala, started this discussion regarding matters of Usul al-Fiqh. So of those things that will be covered in Ilm Usul al-Fiqh is covering what they refer to as al-Futya or al-Fatwa, and also knowing those things that are related to al-Fatwa. So of those things, 1, knowing those persons who are qualified to give fatwa. So what will be said to be a Mufti. Also 2nd, what are the qualifications, the criteria for a Mufti. Then they'll discuss other matters pertaining to al-Futya. So also to show the importance of this matter, this matter of importance we mentioned that regarding concerning the hukum of having people who are qualified to give fatwa is fard kifaya. So it's something which is fard kifaya upon a group of the ulama that they are qualified or reach that level of being qualified enough where they're able to pass al-Futya. So you used to find in the past that in different cities that enough people are appointed as Mufti. Today, in some places, it's still somewhat followed. We'll find that in a particular country, they might have the main Mufti. Then you have other Muftis that are placed in different cities. So different practices in different country today. So they mentioned regarding concerning this matter regarding that you mentioned fatawa or futya. As we mentioned before that this chapter sometimes leaves the bab of ijtihad. But author have covered this matter regarding ijtihad before. So regarding concerning the matter regarding al-futya, that you mentioned that there are certain criteria or condition. So as for those conditions that you mentioned, how many? 3. أن يكون مفتي عارفا بأحكام يقينا, that بالحكم يقينا, the mufti should be of one that is of knowledge, proper insight into matters regarding Islamic ruling with yaqeen, with certainty. أو ظن الراجح, or you have that very that ظن الراجح, that so these are the things that already mentioned. إلا وجب عليه توقف. If the person does not have that knowledge, that insight and that level of certainty with a full certainty, or he feel confident enough, then I mention يجب عليه توقف, then for the person to tawakkuf, then not to pass a judgment. So the person is unclear about the matter, then not to pass a judgment, as in that case become haram upon the person because you do not know, and you pass judgment on things that you do know, and you give matter regarding what you know based upon passing judgment on Islamic matters, not per se your own personal take on a matter, but what's the Islamic ruling on that matter. So it requires for the mufti to know concerning arifan that he has to have some background regarding study of Islam. So he must have it must be known that that person have studied Islam, and also have a certain level of understanding of Islam where they can be considered to be one to give a fatwa. Then I mentioned the second, so that looking at the person and his level. Then I mentioned and yatasawwar as-suwal tasawwuran tam, that also for the mufti that he has to be able to have can somewhat have a proper picture of what is being asked. So as to the question that is being asked, it is clear for him as to what is being asked, so he can give the answer which is appropriate to that question. So if the question is not very clear, so either he asks for it to be repeated. It is mentioned regarding some of the ulama that you have past and of present, that some when they are asked a question, before they give a response, they repeat the question. So of some of the ulama, when they ask a question, before they give an answer, they repeat what they understood. And if it is clear regarding that what was asked and what the mufti, the one being asked, that everyone is on the same picture, then he give an answer. Or if the person starts to change the question around, then it means that the person then it means to certain further thing to be looked into. So you have different people have different approach regarding al-futya. So you might find so say that, but the main thing that the one who's asked, he understand clearly what is being asked. Then I mentioned that, and also a time that the mufti, the one being asked, may also sometimes ask question to get further clarity from the person asking the question. And sometimes to understand the language that is being used. At times, the person being asked, understanding the language that is being used. So a person might use a certain term, but you know that what they're meaning something else. With me? So sometimes I have those cases, the person with actual more correct word in such and such, but the person might use a particular word. Example. For example, a sister may not have a wali. She's a revert. And she wants to get married. So she appoints someone to act as her wali. But when she refers to that wali, she says, no, he's my wakil. Because she will refer to him as being the wakil, but in reality, he's her wali. And for her to use the word wali, then that's the better word to be used. But the word that is common word that is used is wakil. Because the person is not a family member. So anyone who's not a direct family member, they're like your wakil. But a wakil is the one who has been appointed or is being designated to him by someone who's already by your wali. So the wali may be present, but for whatever circumstance he wish now to pass on that responsibility to someone, that person becomes his wakil. So even the word might be used as we said wakil, but she actually means the person understands you're the wali. You're the wali. Then I mentioned the third and the kuna, hadi, al-bad. Also the person that is sharp. That a person also for a wali that is a person that is sharp regarding concern that understanding things. So it should be a person who's sharp-minded. And so those are those conditions that he mentioned regarding the al-futya or shurut al-futya. Of the ulama mentioned regarding concern al-futya, fihi shurut al-jawaz wa shurut al-wujub. So you have also the shurut, the conditions, that their condition which is by way of jawaz, that it is preferred that those things are there, and things that must be there. So you have shurut al-wujub, these must be present for the person, for it to be valid, for the person to be able to give fatwa. And there's other things that are preferred. There's other things that are preferred. Aywa.
The following conditions have been stipulated for
Hey, I'm saying that add concern about the general thing regarding concerning al-futya wal ijtihad, that one, the person must be Muslim. That the one giving ijtihad must be Muslim. Second, al-aql, the person also of sound mind, as these are normal, and also bulugh, and also above the age of puberty. Then also they mention regarding concern of those things that is required by way of shurut, al-ijtihad or mufti, that will be concerned that that a person have a good understanding regarding the adillah shar'iyya, regarding concern wa kayfiyat al-istinbat. So of the things that we'll discuss, so these are other things that he should have knowledge of this, or have access to these things, or have studied these things, where concerning matters regarding ayat al-ahkam, or ahadith al-ahkam, that he have studied this to a great extent. So ahadith al-ahkam that relates to ahkam al-sharia regarding halal and haram, then the mufti should be aware of those things. Or not every, but enough. So then also ayatul ahkam, then also is aware of those verses that relates to the ayatul ahkam. After all I mentioned, there are over 500 ayat that relates to ahkam. So you have different aqwal regarding how much, but the least are some mention there are over 500 verses that relates to ahkam ash-shar'iyyah. As for ahadith, then that's many. But the usul that the person should be aware of, that what is mentioned in Al-Kutub al-Sitt, Bukhari, Muslim, regarding ahadith al-ahkam, Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, especially concerning the books of the Sunan. So Sunan Abu Dawood, Jami al-Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, wal-Nasa'i, added to that al-Muwatta, that the mufti he should be familiar with those books and what is within those books. What we find today, the person that he may have finished or have memorized Bulugh al-Maram and that's it, but he hasn't per se gone to Kutub al-Sittah directly. Then that's shortcomings. And in Kutub al-Ahadith al-Ahkam that you have concerning, as we mentioned before, for each madhab they have their own books. So the Shafi have their own books, the Hanafi have their own books, the Maliki, and also the Hanabila. So each madhab will have their own books of Ahadith al-Ahkam that will revolve around what they see as ahadith that they use to come to their conclusions. Aywa.
The following conditions have been stipulated for a fatwa to be necessary. 1. The incident in question has actually taken place. If it hasn't, then it is not obligatory for a fatwa to be issued. However, a question is asked for the purpose of seeking knowledge, then it is not permissible to hide it. Rather, it must be answered whenever it is asked, in any condition. Number 2.
It is mentioned, a story is mentioned, that one of the Shaykh from Medina that takes the view that if a person asks, you should give the answer if you have the answer in any situation or circumstance. So it's a university, so they have they have exams, end of year exams, or but they have exams that the students have to sit. Then one of the students, one of the mashaykh, he was one of the supervisor of the exams with all the students. So there was, so one of the students asked him a question. The question was written. He asked the Shaykh, can you help me? And he asked the question that was there, the question that was asked in the test. He asked the Shaykh, and the Shaykh gave him the answer. Because you have the view that if you ask and you have the answer, then you should give. But so that's a bit. Those cases are. So I think they said that particular Shaykh, that since that incident, they didn't per se allow him to go into the exam room. So I said, you have those, you understand, a little extreme cases.
Number 2, that it is not the number two, that it is not known for the condition of the questioner that he intends by the questioning to annoy or look for answers that allow him a free pass to do what he wants anyway, or that he is looking to cause the opinions of the scholars to clash with each other, or any other evil intent. If that is the case, then no fatwa needs to be given to him.
So in that case, the Shaykh has to be somewhat aware concerning that what's the intent of the person, what's the purpose behind the question. What's the purpose behind of the question? So the Shaykh has to be at times to look at, to factor in those things. Is the person asking, you understand, for certain reasons, to test the Shaykh, to create a problem between him and others? Or the person is genuine in his question? Is this question about overbearing upon even a questioner? So the Shaykh has to be the one to weigh up those things and then to see, is it appropriate for them to answer the question? Aywa.
Number three, that as a result of the fatwa, more harm is caused. If such is the case, then it is imperative to withhold from issuing a ruling so as to avoid the greater harm of the two evils. What the questioner is obliged to do.
So the mention, so that's the question. So as for the mention that over regarding concerning which would be of those things required from concerning ijtihad, which would be a mufti. Now concerning al-mufti, so mention of those things, Islam, because it matter regarding a deen of Islam. We said aql is of sound mind, bulugh above the age of puberty. Also that the mufti, that what he should be equipped with regarding his level of learning, that he is familiar with those verses of ayatul ahkam and ahadithul ahkam. As for being a criteria for him to memorize the Quran, it's not a must. So it's not a must that the mufti have to memorize the Quran, or a mujtahid. It's not a criteria. It is preferred, but not a must. But he has to be familiar with those verses that discuss matters regarding ahkam and also ahadith, that he has a good enough also, grounded regarding ahadith, al-ahkam. And it doesn't mean you have to read all the books of hadith that are there. Not after there's no condition, but he has sufficient knowledge of that matter. Also with this, they are mentioned regarding that for the mufti, which would be that he has a strong knowledge of Al-Usul al-Fiqh. Al-Usul al-Fiqh. Now, which is concerned what we're discussing. So knowing what are the rules regarding, what are adillat al-Sharia, knowing concerning matters regarding, so knowing adillat al-Sharia, as we have covered before, those ones that are agreed upon and those ones that are disagreed upon. Also, you have to know concerning, as we discussed yesterday, concerning ta'arud. Now, when matters seems to clash, what's the way out to deal with those matters and rectify those type of cases. Also the mufti, that you have to know regarding matters regarding an-nasikh wal-mansukh. What are those verses that have been abrogated and the likes. Also, which by way of Quran and Sunnah. Also he has to know regarding matters relating to al-ijma' wal-ikhtilaf. What are those things that ulama, or a general idea, or can reference back those matters with ulama are in agreement upon, and also knowing those matters with ulama are in disagreement. So he has to have that, and it doesn't mean you have to know everything. But he has a general good awareness of those things that are agreed upon between the ulama and those that are disagreed. Aywa.
Let's say if a questioner is someone that has like whispers, for example, or he has some issue, maybe it seems like he's trying to be lazy, for example. And the mufti, for example, let's say it's a message like the Quran, reading the Quran with wudu or without wudu. And the mufti sees that he must have wudu to read the Quran. But he knows that if he tells this person he has to go make wudu, he has whispers, it takes him half an hour, for example.
It will be a problem.
Yeah, is he allowed to say then the opposite of what he believes?
In some cases, the mention that you will mention before regarding that after the mufti, sometimes he has to look at the situation or the circumstance, the hand of the person asking the question. So if you might be aware the person maybe have certain things that they're trying to overcome, like for example, then he has to give the answer sometime which is appropriate to that person. So ordinarily give the answer that is to be given, but at time, but also bear in mind, take into factor at times the questioner. If you see that there are signs that, for example, the person asks the question that he's trying to be over the top, they may not give him an answer. Or you might find the person that he may be afflicted with certain things. Now, so you might not give him an answer that will make situation worse for him, the person, regarding waswas. Now, so you might fit the question so as to suit his circumstance and not make things more difficult for him. So, like for the person, we also tell a person that you have to do it 3 times. Tell him, so once is enough for you. You understand? Because 3 times for him is 3 hours. Even doing things once is a problem. So that certain case, you might encourage a person to do what is more preferred. Just do what is sufficient. So also regarding concern that was said that with the Mufti, after know those matters regarding, and also the Mufti they discussed regarding, of the thing of that is adala should be one that is the criteria for the Mufti to have adala, that concerning trustworthiness, upright in his deen, meaning that he's not a fasik. So the Mufti should not be one of us that it's a criteria regarding that he could be a Mufti or could be a person who's qualified for ijtihad, but as for giving judgment to others, maybe it is not advisable because of his fisk. But for him, that's after the matter. Our next matter discussed regarding the Mufti, that salamat al-i'tiqad, that does he has to be also of the correct aqidah. Can you appoint a Mufti who has some said those things that regarding concern that salamat al-i'tiqad or sahih al-i'tiqad, that's ideal. That the Mufti be of the people of Al-Sunnah wa Tawheed, then that is ideal for the Mufti. That is aqidah is sound, as at times he will be questioned regarding matters of i'tiqad. So he should be aware of the different groups amongst the Muslim and their different beliefs, but also generally try to give the one which is in line with the Quran and the Sunnah. But if the person, the Mufti, is somewhat of aqahid mukhalafat, the Ahl Sunnah, then he still can stand as a Mufti. He can, because he's still Muslim.
That's like you're harsh upon Ahlul Bidah not to say
Sometimes because in those circumstances you'll find a person might be appointed a Mufti because that those around may be similar regarding concern the people who appoints him. You with me? So when I find that the Mufti in most cases now that they are appointed by the state. Right? So depending on the afkar, depending on the mindset of the state and their approach to Islam, then they might find someone who is in line with that approach. You with me? So sometimes those things may come into the fight. So they have to approve it or they appoint. So at times they might appoint someone who's, if the head of state is, so you might find it's a common practice with the head of state that the Mufti usually in line with the belief of the head of state, in most part. Not in every matter, but in the general belief. So you find those things occur. So that's the thing. But if you've been appointed by the head of state as the Mufti, and you understand he's still Muslim and he's still all the criteria, but he has some mukhalafat in i'tiqad, then is in matters. Then in those matters that he still stands as a Mufti, but as for the matter of i'tiqad, when it is clear that he's off, given something which is off, you don't accept that from him. With me?
Accept what from him?
If you give any, in matter of i'tiqad, matter of belief, if he is supposed to give fatwa or give rulings on matter of fatwa that is contrary to Ahl Sunnah, because of what he owes as a belief, he has some, you understand, mukhalafat in his belief, then those matters you do not follow him and accept those, you do not follow him in those things. You do not accept or follow him in those areas of i'tiqad that goes against Ahl Sunnah. So you find those things that hey.
Shall I continue?
Hey, what?
What the questioner is obliged to do. 2 things are required from the questioner. 1, that he seeks from his questioning the truth and to act upon it, and not seeking a fatwa he wants, or leaving the Mufti unable to answer and other such improper intent. Number 2, that he asks only those who he knows or he firmly holds to be from the people capable of giving a fatwa. He should choose the mufti that has most knowledge and piety. It is even said that is obligatory.
It's one thing that I mentioned regarding concerns, of piety being of the person of a high level of piety. Then that's of those things which is the shurut al-jawaz. That's more preferred, but not per se wajib, but more preferred. That and also regarding concern in being the most knowledgeable person amongst the people. Then as I said, to say he's the most knowledgeable amongst the people, and then those things sometimes are relative. Those things are at times relative, but he should be of those of the highest standard amongst those people who are present in knowledge. Sometimes if you go to any country today that has a mufti, and you was to say, is that person who is the appointed mufti, is he the most knowledgeable person in that country? Just imagine, go around in that particular country, is the mufti would be said to be the most knowledgeable person in that country?
It doesn't have to.
No.
You understand? Yeah. So if you go to every country, you might find that he may be amongst the top ones, the top, and maybe at some time he may be, yes, the maybe top one, but it may not be something which is a standard in every way that you go. Maybe, may not be the standard with every country that you go, but the thing is that he's qualified for that role. He's qualified for that role.
Is it the case that sometimes the most knowledgeable person doesn't even want that position?
It varies.
Even if he's offered, he might say...
You have cases like those. Yeah. You have cases where people have refused the position. Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, that during his time he refused the role of being the qadi, he refused those roles. But his students accept it, and that's why the matter of Abu Hanifa, it spread, because his student accept, but himself that he refrained from that responsibility, from that role. But his students they did, and so you find that when they did, then they started to choose people upon, we said, Hanafi like themselves. Now, so that's why the madhab it spread from early and continue. So you find that the mufti who chose people, I was at the time of Ahmad bin Hanbal, that certain that i'tizal was widespread, and certain things that already creeped into the Muslim, and you find that the head of state have certain ideas that was, you understand, was serious. But the people were the top, and they were kind of somewhat start to appoint people, test the people of ilm, those who agree with the state on certain matters regarding Quran and those matters. Then they kind of appoint them, appoint them as being the ones who are the religious head of being the people to teach and give fatwa. And anyone that goes against them, then you are thrown into prison or moved from your position. So I said those things, it occur from then, and you wouldn't miss it. It still exists. It will still exist today. It may still exist today. Now, where people who more inclined towards the view of the state, or what the state that they are appointed, and those who may seem to be not in line with certain things of the state, then they might not be appointed for certain roles. Aywa.
Al-ijtihad. The definition. Ijtihad linguistically means exerting full effort in trying to understand a difficult issue, and technically to make an effort to understand a legal ruling. And the mujtahid is the one who exerts his utmost to do so. Conditions of ijtihad.
We discussed already?
Ijtihad? No.
No.
Did we finish the last one?
As the next part, we discuss this issue about another matter.
It finished, in this book it finished.
It
So
finished.
it repeats, is that what you're saying?
No, it finished in this book.
Is it?
In Arabic it didn't finish.
There's no conditions of the
Mush-
mufti for them.
What comes next?
There's nothing.
And that's if I had instead what's from Salih and Batik and the Prophet said that we ride in the river on the sea, we have a little of water. So if we do wudu, we're going to be thirsty. Should we do wudu?
That's in your book.
Yeah.
Okay. What's in your book? What comes next?
After ijtihad?
Yeah.
No, not Isha, before Isha. Still on the Muslim.
That's it. After the second point,
Ibn?
there's just no.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. What's in your? I'm on the page for ijtihad.
For ijtihad, I've got 1, 2, 2. So 1,
Okay.
2, and 2. And then after that is taqleed. So
Okay, hey,
2
okay.
pages.
Okay, ماشي. Okay, continue.
Okay.
According to the...
Okay. Yeah, okay. Now, and technically, to make now, ijtihad linguistically means exerting full effort in trying to understand a difficult issue, and technically to make an effort to understand a legal ruling. And the mujtahid is the one who exerts his utmost to do so. Conditions of ijtihad. Ijtihad has conditions including the following. Number 1, that the mujtahid knows the legal evidences he needs in his effort to make ijtihad, such as the verses pertaining to rulings and their corresponding narrations. Number 2, to know the authenticity.
So there are books, like for example, I said books of Ayatul Ahkam, that you have books also on that topic. So you have said now, as we mentioned before, that for each madhab, they'll have a book that will discuss those matters. So the most renowned of them, that is that of Qurtubi. So Jami al-Bayan أحكام القرآن للقرطبي أو جامع للأحكام القرآن للقرطبي. That's the more famous of those regarding آيات الأحكام. And you have others. You have others who have done work on that topic. So you have At-Tahawi, also for the Hanafi. So you have different works that are there on that topic. Aywa.
Number 2, to know the authenticity of the hadith and the weaknesses, such as knowing the chains of narrations and its narrators, etc.
So even though it is mentioned as a criteria, but that's now, yes, most of those are said to be a faqih, that regarding concerning their level of proficiency in hadith is not to understand that distinction, making that distinction between hadith to sahih or da'if, that is not, most may not fulfill that standard. You with me? Hey. So even though it's a criteria, but as for the practicality, that most of those who are said to be fuqaha, then they may not be of those of that able can make that distinction. And at times they use it. So yes, what is the condition that is there? Aywa.
Number 3, to know the abrogating and the abrogated and the instances of consensus, so to avoid ruling with something abrogated or oppose a consensus.
Yes, also the mujtahid also have to know those things which is nasukh al-mansukh, abrogated, so he doesn't use something which is abrogated, nor he in matters regarding that by way of then also matter that he mentioned there, a second one which is
to know the authenticity
concerning things of ijma, that and khilafat between the ulama, where things that have been established as an ijma, he doesn't say opposite after ijma been established. So ijma been established, but he's unaware, but he's saying something contrary to what's already been established as ijma between the ulama. Then he has to, so that's the thing that, and don't claim ijma for things that is khilaf. And that's our, and so yes, so that's of those things that he has to understand, and that's why I said going through the system of our study, books of those natures to understand those issues. Aywa.
Number 4, to know from the evidence what differs with a ruling from takhsis and taqyid and so on and so on, so as to avoid ruling something that opposes it.
Hey, so don't consider said usul al-fiqh, al-am wal-khas, wal-mutlaq wal-muqayyid. So having that knowledge of usul al-fiqh, then a person mujtahid then also should have this. Aywa.
Number 5, to know the language and principles of fiqh, which is connected to what words signify, such as am, khas, mutlaq, muqayyid, mujmal, mubayyin, etc. So he can rule according to what those terms necessitate. Number 6, to have the ability to be able to derive rulings from the evidences. And ijtihad can be categorized, so it can be in a particular chapter from the chapters of knowledge or a certain problem.
So ijtihad also, if an alim maybe a mujtahid in a particular field. So he's a specialist in a particular field, so matters regarding that. You have even today, a person may be well-known, renowned, but he's more known regarding concern that he has knowledge in general, but also he's more known regarding that things regarding al-buyu. Especially concerning modern day buyu. You have certain people that are well known for this. Or another person may be known for hadith, or that person is known for usul al-fiqh. So they're known for abwab min abwab al-ilm, or a person that is known concerning bab al-ibadat, that is well known in that field of ibadat. Now, so you have people who are specialized in particular areas within a particular science. Aywa.
What is necessary for the mujtahid? What is incumbent on the mujtahid is that he exerts his efforts in trying to find the truth. Then he rules with what is clear to him, and if he gets it right, then he has two rewards. A reward for his effort and a reward for him getting it right, because reaching the truth is a manifestation of it and acting according to it.
One of my Shaykh was saying that in a lecture that he was taken aback when he heard that a person was said, that kuntu taliban, that when I used to be like a talib. So thinking, what are you now though? You understand? So then when I used to study, so what are you doing now? You're not studying? You understand? So we made a discussion about it. The person that the alim is always talib al-ilm. He's always a talib al-ilm, always studying, always researching. Because you find thing which is that even that thing that he just still reviewing. So a thing that he knows but still reviewing. So I said before, that even like these books of ijtihad is more so regarding matters of fiqh, right? But for the person who is giving fatwa in fiqh related matters or matter of whatever field, that in fiqh that is constantly reviewing the information that he has. So you have a book that will be his book of review. Every year, once a year, you read through that book. But also looking into other things that are new, other things that you may have a particular research in a particular area. So the person who's the alim, the mujtahid, kibar ulama, you understand that they're always involved in research. Always involved, or should be always involved in research. Aywa, but being an alim doesn't mean that, you understand, you stop studying the books. It doesn't mean this. Aywa.
Now, if he errs, then he has just one reward, and the mistake is forgiven according to the saying of the Prophet ﷺ. When a judge gives a ruling and he tries his best to find the truth, then he gets it right. He has two rewards, and if he judges and gets it wrong, then he has only one reward.
And those are cases where it is yajuz fihi ijtihad. So those are cases that it is allowed and it's considered yajuz fihi ijtihad. So you have certain matters which is that is somewhat more clear that you want for I'm making ijtihad regarding is 5 salat wajib or not. There's no ijtihad on that. You understand? So certain which is well established. Then there's no ijtihad. You explain that I'm making ijtihad person trying to show that the mujtahid. You understand that I'm making ijtihad regarding should we still continue to pray 5 salat or not? Or should we still continue to pray in the month of Ramadan? There's no ijtihad in those things. So certain things, there's no ijtihad. The person making open door of ijtihad in those things, then that's a big problem for him. It's a big problem for him. Aywa.
If a ruling does not appear to him, then he must hold back, and it is then permissible for him to blind follow because of the necessity.
Some say the alim, a mujtahid at times, that a matter might come to his attention and he is unable to give an answer. He haven't studied the matter. Or he studied the matter but haven't recalled the answer. You understand? With adilla and everything, he's somewhat mutaraddid about what answer. So for him, in that case, he doesn't give an answer. Tawakkuf. So either he goes back and study the matter and then come back and give an answer, or if he knows a matter that he hasn't studied at all, but he is aware that another alim who is qualified, a bona fide alim, have given an answer, then he can give that answer to that person, even though he himself hasn't studied the matter. That he believes that person, that alim is qualified and legit regarding what he have mentioned, then he can pass on. So he making like taqleed himself. Of using the answer of someone, even though he himself haven't researched the matter himself, of those who mentioned that can be done. Aywa.
Blind following, taqleed. The definition. Taqleed linguistically means to put something around the neck, encompassing it like qalada, rope around the neck. and technically it means to follow the saying of someone whose statement are not.
Is it qalada or qilada?
Qalala.
Okay. Okay, whatever they have there.
So is it kilala?
Hey.
Kilala. Jazakallah khairan. No. Taqlid linguistically means to put something around the neck, encompassing it like khilala, rope around the neck. And technically it means to follow the saying of someone whose statement are not an evidence. What is excluded from our words whose statement are not a evidence is following the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and following the people of consensus and following the companions. If we were to say that their statements are an evidence, then following any of that would not be called taqlid because it is following the evidence. However, sometimes it is referred to as taqlid figuratively and for more inclusiveness.
So the word taqlid sometimes can have meaning which is a general meaning what is not intended per se taqlid. Aywa, as it is known or understood. Aywa.
Situations of taqlid. Taqlid can occur in two situations. One, that the blind follower be a common person who is not able to know the ruling for himself. So for him it is compulsory to blind follow due to the statement of the Most High, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people, translation of which, ask the people of the reminder if you do not know. He follows the best one he can find in terms of knowledge and piety, and if they are similar then he can simply choose. Number two, the mujtahid is confronted with an incident that requires immediate response and he is not able to look into the issue, then he may blind follow someone in that instance. Some have laid down a condition for the permissibility of blind following that it should not be in the principles of the religion which are to be believed in, because in beliefs we must have resolve, and blind following does not give that certainty, only conjecture. The most correct opinion, however, is that this is not a condition due to the generality of the saying of the Most High. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Translation of which asks the people of the reminder if you do not know. The verse is in context of affirming the message, and that is from the principles of the religion, and that the commoner is unable to know the truth of its proofs by himself. So if he has an unable, then there is nothing left but blind following due to the saying of the Most High. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Translation of which, fear Allah as much as you are able. Types of taqlid. Blind following is of two types, general and specific. Number one, general, to commit to a certain school of thought, taking the allowances and decisions in all matter of his religion. The scholars have differed in this regard, so some say he must do so due to his inability of ijtihad in it. Some of them said that it is obligatory for him due to the lack of ijtihad amongst the later generations. And some of the scholars say that it is forbidden because it is following someone other than the Prophet ﷺ without any restrictions. Shaykh al-Islam ibn
Yes, we
Taymiyyah.
found that, so I meant that with the ulama have different view on this matter, or different takes on this matter regarding at-taqlid. So of those who mentioned that with taqlid, as stated here regarding this, wajib, that one should make taqlid of another person. That's wajib, would be an alim, mujtahid, in most cases. Then of those who mentioned that it is not allowed for a person to make taqlid of a particular person, as that is the person that, you're elevating that person, that of the Prophet ﷺ, or that person is ma'soom, that is infallible. So you have those take regarding matters with taqlid. Aywa, then he mentioned Ibn Taymiyyah.
Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah said, the statement that it is obligatory to obey someone other than the Prophet ﷺ in all the commands and prohibitions is against the consensus, and its permissibility is what it is. And he said, Whoever adheres to a particular school of thought, then he opposes it not out of blind following another scholar that has given him a fatwa, nor using an evidence that necessitates that, or without a legal excuse which he requires a solution for what he has done, then he is a follower of his desires. The doer of something forbidden without a legal excuse, this is evil. As for something becoming clear to him which gives preference to one saying over another, either by detailed evidences, if he knows them and understands them, or he sees one of the two men more knowledgeable than the other and more pious in what he says, so he can return from one saying to another. The like of this is permissible, rather obligatory, and Imam Ahmed has written about this. Number 2, specific. To take the words given in a particular case. It is permissible if he is unable to find out the truth through making his own ijtihad, whether that is a real inability or he had the ability but it would involve great hardship. Blind following of fatwas. Allah says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Translation of which, ask the people of remembrance if you do not know. And the people of reminder are the scholars, and the blind followers are not from the people of knowledge who are followed. Rather they are follower of others. Abu Umar ibn Abu Dulbar and others said, the people are unanimously agreed that the blind follower is not of the scholars, and that knowledge is to know the truth with its evidences. Ibn al-Qayyim said, this is as Abu Umar said, the people do not disagree that knowledge is obtained from the evidences. As for without the evidence, then that is blind following. Then Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned the permissibility of the fatwa through blind following according to 3 sayings. Number 1, it is not permissible to give a fatwa with blind following because it is not knowledge, and the fatwa without knowledge is forbidden.
So it is discussing concerning a person who is giving a fatwa based upon him blind following someone else. So you have that case, a person is passed on information as a fatwa, but his source of that is through taqleed. So he's blind following, so he have heard from someone, not knowing the evidence, but have heard the conclusion, and then now he's passing on information without per se the same thing, without evidence. So a muqallid passing on something that he has taken from someone and then passing on, sharing it with others. So in that case, no. Aywa.
Number 1, it is not permissible to give a fatwa with blind following because it is not knowledge, and the fatwa without knowledge is forbidden. And this is the saying of most of the companions and the majority of the Shafi'iyah. Number 2, it is permissible with regard to himself, but not permissible for him to blindly follow what others have given a fatwa for themselves, in brackets. Number 3,
So for himself, he can act upon that, take that, but as for others, then that's with him. That's his thing regarding if he wants to blind follow and take it, then that's upon him. But ولا يجوز يقلد. أيوة.
Number 3, it is permissible when needed, and in the absence of a scholar who is a mujtahid, and that is the most correct of these sayings, and it should be acted upon. And with this, we complete.
So the consensus that a taqleed that in certain circumstance, in certain circumstance, which is jahiz in al-haja, if there's a need. So a taqleed, like if there's a need that or a person has circumstance where he has not able to make ijtihad or go back, and there's also no people of him to give him full clarity with dalil and the likes, then in that case, a person can do a taqleed, a blind follow, but based upon need and necessity. Not based upon, so it is based upon need and necessity.
It's talking about the mufti, yeah? It's talking about the mufti.
It is about concerning that in any case. It's about muqallid. It's about muqallid. Not mufti, muqallid.
When it says fatwa, muqallid.
The muqallid, so the muqallid passing on a fatwa.
So I just here on the internet.
Yeah, a person here from his shaykh.
Okay,
or hear someone narrate or support, so he hears something from someone, not knowing the full details, and he just now passing that information. You understand? So you have those cases. So for the muqallid, what's his stance regarding fatwa that he may be aware of? You understand? So a case in time that, so his case is that for the muqallid, that is not to pass on fatwa that he has made taqleed, that he fell into taqleed in. Then you have a case, or a case where if he can make taqleed, but those information is for himself. Then you have a case where taqleed is only in case of necessity, or a case where the ulama are not accessible. You understand? To get further clarity. So you might know something, but the ulama are there, so you go to the one who's present, where you can get further clarity and detail on the matter. You find to know that a lot of problems sometimes that have occurred around this. You'll find a person who's himself a muqallid to a degree, you understand, passing on things that he doesn't know the full detail. As if he's, you understand, with full confidence, as if he knows the detail. And that's a problem. So a brother was telling me yesterday that a person said that, and you find this, you find those things, Allah mustan. You find those things, Allah mustan. Aywa. That's then.
No, and with this we complete what we intended to write in this concise reminder. We ask Allah to inspire us towards righteousness in speech and action, and to crown our actions with success.
So that's inshallah, alhamdulillah. So that's a brief, that's a brief summary of matter related to Al-Usul al-Fiqh that we have read from this book of Al-Uthaymin rahimahullah ta'ala, that give us a brief glimpse or insight into some of those things that are covered in the Al-Usul al-Fiqh. But of the thing to take of note is that is something that science, an important science for the person, for the talib to understand. Because it requires for the person having Usul al-Fiqh, that it helps, it's a gateway for the person to can know how to understand concerning matters relating to fiqh, why there are differences, what's the evidence, who's qualified to do this and not qualified to do that. So the Usul al-Fiqh, now we start to have an idea as to how things work regarding fatawa, or things regarding ahkam sharia of halal and haram, and how people come to conclusion, and who are the ones who are qualified, and different things that you have to factor in when looking at certain things. So Usul al-Fiqh, and it's a method that give the person that understanding as to how the ulama come to conclusion. None of our am wal khas, mutlaq wal muqayyid, and all these things are looked at. So it give the person that also person that confidence of what the path that he's following, also it is correct, and also give the person like clear guidelines to follow. Give the person clear guideline to follow regarding this matter regarding al-halal al-haram. So you don't become confusing and so become confusing for him and for others. There are times he say one thing, the next time he contradicts himself because he's not following a straight, clear path. So Usul al-Fiqh give you those things. The person at one point. So yes, so Usul al-Fiqh is important science to have. We said of it, as we mentioned before, that you have things of ilm al-kalam, of enter into it, things that are not needed, is to put those things away. And of the ulama who kind of somewhat made an attempt of trying to remove those things from Usul al-Fiqh. You have Muhammad Amin al-Shinkiti, also you have like Ibn Qayyim al-Shatibi, and the like, try to sieve out those things regarding things that is not a part of Usul al-Fiqh, but also included in the books of Usul al-Fiqh. But we said something important to study. Wabillahi ta'ala tawfiq.